Kia ora koutou. Today I'm talking about creativity, focus, and the scourge of interruption, I guess. It's very hard in this day and age for us to get the required clarity, focus, and often stillness and quiet to tap into that part of our brain that allows us to innovate and to be creative and to gain clarity and focus. And I have recently just written my 6th book, and people often ask me, how do you go away and write a book? How does that process happen? And it's been trial and error over 6 books, and I've finally gotten to the point where I am at my most effective, and it takes less time 6 books in, and that is going away on a writing retreat. Now, this takes me away from my office, my day-to-day, distractions, noise, the to-do list. I dedicate 24/7 to writing. And people say, yeah, but what happens if you get on that retreat that particular week and you're not creative and the ideas don't flow? And yeah, whilst that's a possibility, and I don't necessarily always know when I'm going to be creative, I do know how to best set my environment up that works in a way that works for me, to ensure that the chances of me being creative are maximized. So that includes being away from the office, being somewhere rural, being away from Wi-Fi, internet, social media, other people. So it's important I'm there alone. It's important I have everything I need with me, food, etc., so I don't have to go anywhere. I create the conditions whereby focus and creativity are more likely to happen. I'm more likely to be in a flow state because I have less interruptions. And yeah, on the days where I'm not as creative as I'd like to be, I switch it up a bit. I might make some food, I might go for a walk, I might sit in the sun, I might do something that helps switch the brain or reset the brain slightly. But it's really hard to do that because I get we can't all go away for the week and do our work in a beautiful retreat somewhere by ourselves. And interruption is such a massive part of impacting our focus and our creativity. In fact, the interruption science around this, the studies that have been done in this space say that our interruptions and the way whether it's an open plan office or our social media and our devices or people around us, our interruptions are such a way that the impact, according to the University of London, is the same as a 10-point drop in our IQ level. Pico Iyer talks about this beautifully in his TED Talk, The Art of Stillness. And the research that's been done in this space that actually shows we get interrupted on average about 11 minutes, every 11 minutes. And that it takes us upwards of 20 minutes to recover from that. So if it takes us 20 minutes to recover and we're getting interrupted every 11, we're never quite getting back to this space where we can be clear and focused and creative. And it increases our likelihood of errors as well when we're interrupted. There was a study done with data entry inputters, and they found that their error rate doubled after they'd been interrupted and went back to doing what they were doing, to inputting data. And that was the case even when that interruption was only 3 seconds long. So 3 seconds is enough for us to check our phone because it's ringing, decide we don't want to answer it because we don't want to be interrupted, and same impact, double the error rate. So what do we do about this? I think carving out time, even if it's time working from home by yourself or time where you've got an office or a booth or a meeting room to work from, working out what works for you as well. For some of us, it's that space and that quiet that helps us focus. Others, we need music on. We've got our earphones in and that helps. So we're all different. Knowing what works for you and being able to carve that out as part of your day, and being able to set time aside for those creative tasks, for strategic thinking, for the times where you will need more focus and creativity to tap into. Knowing what makes us creative or gives us an environment conducive to focus, and then being able to schedule that is one thing. But then there's managing the distractions, interruptions that are inevitable as part of our day, particularly electronically. So whether that's our social media, our device, our calls, our emails, we have so much demand on our attention that it's often very difficult, even if we've set our environment up for success, to manage that. And so a lot of my clients this year are working on minimizing their social media use and their relationships with their devices to not just free up time in the brain, because we do get this overwhelm from information overload, but also to free up time in our life as well. So whether that looks like removing the apps off your phone so that you're intentionally checking your social media rather than being drawn in to notifications and badges that distract our attention and draw us in to scroll. Whether that is the times of day that work for you. If it's the first thing you pick up in the morning and the last thing you look at night, how does that change? I know some people have a device rule, not before 9 and not after 9. So 9 to 9 is when we're online, and outside of that is when we're resting our mind and getting that space and that focus. It might be a digital detox that you take once a month. I know I like to shut my phone in a drawer on a Sunday from 8 till 8 and hope that nothing terrible happens whilst that's in there to give my mind a break. So it's finding what works for you. But when we can alter our relationship, or at least have a relationship that we control with these distractions, we create so much more focus and therefore an opportunity to create in our brain. We find that there's less information overload. We also find that we create time as well. Of course, our devices and our apps are designed to distract us. They're designed to capture our attention and spend as much time there as possible, even if that's detrimental to our health or everything else we're doing in our life at that point. And we also have on our devices a way of monitoring that screen time. So even just knowing what your screen time is, if you go to your settings and look under screen time, even knowing what your screen time is per week will help. Being able to see what apps you're spending most time on and whether that's giving you a return on investment for that time. And then being able to use that information to set some targets that are realistic for you. Our devices can also help us in this space because we can't live without them, and yet they do distract so much of our time, energy, and attention. So if we're looking for creativity, focus, some space, and less information overload, I suggest that's a really good place to start. And beyond that, it's knowing how to set your environment up for success and knowing what makes you tick to gain focus and clarity and creativity.